What is up, you guys? In today's video, I want to walk you through 5 important questions to ask before you start any woodworking project. Let's dive in. All right, as always, welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Zach Vaught, and I'm super excited about this video because I want to walk you through important questions to ask before you dive into the actual build of whatever project you might be working on. It's super important that you have a strong framework before you start a project so that you can prevent mistakes, move more seamlessly throughout the project, and ultimately be more profitable, right? So what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about 5 questions to ask before you dive in. And with this, there are a couple key concepts that I want to just point out before we dive into these 5 questions. So number 1, many people build projects then hope to sell them. I always believed in the other version of that model, which is sell them and then build them, right? Because I know when I'm selling it, I'm taking cash from the customer. I'm using the customer's cash to buy materials. And then when I get done with the project, I know that I'm collecting more cash, the second half payment, once I deliver that project or they pick that project up for me. So that's just an important core concept to know. Am I going to try to sell this before I build it, or am I going to build it and then hope to sell it? And there are benefits and drawbacks of each. I definitely do believe as you become more experienced, you have a more robust business, you need to always be selling before you're building. Okay, now, with that, let's dive into these 5 important questions to ask before you start every project build. Number 1, have I accurately priced this project for profit? Okay, so with this, you need to understand a couple different things. You need to account for materials, you need to account for time, you need to account for overhead. What kind of money do you want to make after all that is accounted for, right? So it's super important to understand your numbers. This is where most woodworkers go wrong. Most woodworkers are just good old boys that are just trying to make a few extra dollars here and there, and they don't really get very methodical with their pricing structure. So it's very important to think, am I pricing this for profit? Now, on the flip side of that, you can price it for $1 million, but you won't sell it, right? So we have to find this fine line of, I'm not pricing it so low that it kills my profits, but I'm also not pricing it so high that I don't ever sell it. So what does that typically look like? And how can I compete, not based on price, but based on other factors, right? So how can I compete based on value? How can I compete based on brand, as opposed to just being another guy that's posting a $500 farmhouse table on Facebook Marketplace and hoping that you pick my $500 table as opposed to the guy down the road who also has one for sale for $500, right? So we don't want to compete like that. So number 2, do I fully understand the customer's expectations? This is super important. One of the things that we created inside of my woodworking business and that we teach all of our clients inside of the Woodworking Business Accelerator program is to have a cosmetic standard. What this means is that we outline what a good product is to us and how we define it so that we hand this to the customer at the time of the sale so they know what we're going to build for them and what they can expect as far as quality, as far as wood, as far as knots or cracks, or how rustic the furniture is, right? Or is it going to be a super clean modern piece of furniture? What exactly are they getting? And this is the number 1 problem that woodworkers run into over and over again, and that is that there is miscommunication and unclear expectations either from the builder, the woodworker, or from the buyer, right? So we want to clear this up. We want to make it super clear. So have I clarified dimensions, finish, style, wood type, and timeline? Are there any custom requests or limitations that I'm not going to be able to fulfill my promises on, right? This is super important to know your limits, to know what can I do, what can I not do. And here's the big idea that I want to help you with, is that if there are misunderstood expectations, this is the number 1 cause of bad reviews. This is the number 1 cause of demands for refunds or for revisions, for you having to bring the work piece back to the shop and change something or do something again, which again eats at your profit margins, slows you down. Essentially, if you do that enough, you're going to be working for free, right? So this is super important. I can't stress this enough. There needs to be super clear expectations between the customer and you. Number 3, is my current workload and shop capacity able to handle this project, right? So for example, let's say that you have a full-blown production wood shop that's cutting dimensional and building dimensional tables with dimensional lumber, and you get a request for a big epoxy table. Well, you have so much sawdust in the air all the time. If you don't have a very large space, you're not going to be able to do anything else other than when you're doing that epoxy table to only do that epoxy table, because your epoxy is going to have to dry. You can't have sawdust in the air settling in the epoxy, right? So you need to understand your limitations from a workspace standpoint, right? Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't push your limitations, right? I'm a firm believer that you don't get better until you push yourself. You need to grow, you need to adapt, you need to learn new things, try new things, and figure out what you really love, right? But can I build this efficiently without delaying other orders? So this is a super important question. If you have a backlog of work, we don't want to delay everybody else's orders in order to work on a project when we could have made just as much or more money by keeping to our current timeline and not getting that project in the first place. Do I need any help with the project? Do I need to outsource any of the components of the project, or do I need to just create a healthier or better workflow? One of the things that we started doing was we would create jigs based on frequent products that we would make over and over and over again, right? So if there were certain ways that we had to connect table aprons to legs, right, we would create a jig for that it would all slide in and fit, boom, perfectly, zip, zip, screws, we're good. And so it's super important that you have a good workflow. And it's also super important that you understand, what do I need to stop trying to do myself, and what do I need to just outsource, right? So let me give you an example here. So we had a couple table designs that had more complex legs than others. And so with this, we tried to build these legs in-house a few times, and we could build them and we could, it was fine. But the one thing that we lost is that we lost a lot of time by building them in-house. So what I chose to do instead was I would outsource these legs to a carpenter local to me that I really trusted. I would pay him just for the manufacturing of the legs. We would build the tops, get everything else done. We would get the legs in, we would assemble the base, and it just sped us up dramatically, right? So it allowed us to keep moving at a healthy pace, right? Which again allows us to make more money faster. We want to increase the rate of money, right? The last thing I'll say with this is you just need to make sure that you are not saying yes to too much, because if you say yes to too much too quickly without giving proper expectations for timelines, it will bottleneck your shop really, really quickly. You'll be a stressed out, anxious mess. It's not worth it, okay? That's number 3. Number 4. This one is super, super good. I love this one. Have I documented this design for repeatability? Now, one of the things that I see a lot of guys do is they'll take a one-off project that somebody requests, they'll build it, never document it, never write anything down, never put things in place to make it a standard product. This is, by the way, how I scaled my product catalog as quickly as I did. We would get a request for a new design that we had never done before. We would build it, document how we built it, and then we would take really great photos and videos of that product, of that one-off piece, and then we would roll that into our product catalog and say, hey, we're excited to be introducing a brand new design, right? And then we might sell 5 or 10 or 15 of those tables in the next 6 months, right? Because we now had a proven concept, we had a proven design, and we had a system for building it efficiently, right? So a couple questions to ask on this is, can I recreate this build efficiently in the future if it becomes popular? Super, super important. Now, if you build something that's a one-off that you don't ever want to build again in your life, just nix it, throw it away, don't offer it to the general public, right? Second question is, do I have templates, cut lists, and photos for marketing? Super important question. And so here's the thing that you got to know is, if you build your business on systems early, you will build a business that can scale. If you do not build your business on systems, you will have an unscalable business. If you want to scale to $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a month or more, you need to create repeatability inside of your business, okay? Don't reinvent the wheel with every single sale. Okay, number 5, final one, is what is my plan for quality control and delivery? So this is one of the things that as you grow can really begin to suffer if you don't have a system for it, right? So what is my plan for quality control? Do I have a checklist to ensure everything is sanded, finished, and structurally sound? So the way that we set up quality control and the way that we teach our clients inside of the Woodworking Business Accelerator program is that we would have checkpoints along the way of the build. After the top was built, after the base was built, we're checking structure. After everything is sanded and prepped and ready for stain or for paint, we're checking all of the sanding. After we've applied the paint or after we've applied the stain and we're getting ready to apply the final finish, we're checking, make sure we don't have any swirl marks. We're checking and making sure that the stain is not blotchy, that it's applied evenly. We're checking to make sure they don't have any runs in the paint, right? We're checking all of these details before we apply that final coat, so that we don't get to a finished product and then we have structural issues, right? That we could have found 3, 4, 5 days ago, right? It's super important that you have a plan for quality control and also for delivery. Do I have a checklist to ensure everything is sanded, finished, and structurally sound? The next question is the delivery method locked in? Now, this is one of those things that I would definitely encourage you to lock in when you are getting nearer to completion on the project. You don't necessarily have to have this like locked in at the time of the sale, but you want to make sure that you have a delivery date locked in and a delivery method locked in, whether they're going to come pick up from you, you're going to deliver to them, whatever that might be. The other thing that I will just mention on this is that do not collect your second payment upon delivery. Collect your second payment upon completion of the project. Horror stories that I can share with you is where we're talking to a customer 1 week and we say, hey, we're going to have your project done in the next 3 to 5 days. Awesome. We're super excited to get it. Fantastic. When we deliver it, we can settle up. And let's say this is a 10 or 12 foot table. It's a big table, 10 or 12 chairs. 3 or 4 days later, we finish up, give them a call. Hey, we're super excited. We're done. This thing looks incredible. We're ready to bring it to you. Oh, well, something came up and I can't take the table for another 3 months. What am I going to do with a 12-foot table and 12 chairs for the next 3 months? It's going to sit in the middle of your shop and take up all your space, right? Which you don't want to happen. So make sure that you have a good plan for delivery, for pickup, and also for collecting cash. If you do not mention this at the time of sale, you're going to make the customer really upset. So you need to make sure that at the time of sale, you mention, hey, to get started, we're going to take a 50% deposit to get you in the line, in the queue, and then the second half payment is due upon completion of the project. We're going to send you detailed photos, detailed video, and that is when the second half payment will be due, and then we can figure out delivery from there, right? Delivery or pickup from there, right? And so it's super important. If you don't tell them that on the front end, you're going to end up, and then you try to pull that on the end, they're going to be upset. Well, why can't I just pay when you deliver it? And so make sure that you're clear on that. Just the last thing to say about quality control here is that a flawless product that arrives damaged or late is still a bad experience, okay? You want to cover all your bases so that these people will be advocates for you, so that they'll leave you 5-star reviews on Google and Facebook, so that they will tell all their friends and family about you. And if you give them a great product and you were sloppy with the delivery, they're still going to have a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth. If you deliver right on time and they get a sloppy product because you didn't have quality control on lock, they're going to have a bad taste in their mouth, right? We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we have covered all of our bases, exceptional product, exceptional service, exceptional delivery. They're excited and they're an advocate for you from this day forward. So with that being said, guys, hopefully this was a helpful video. I got a few resources I want to run by you. Number one is my completely free ebook to you. It's the Handmade Business Secrets ebook. If you have not checked that out, be sure to check that out. It doesn't cost you anything. It's about a 100-page book that outlined my journey of how I started my garage and scaled my woodworking business to over $75,000 per month. Number two is the Handmade Hero Academy program. If you're a brand new beginner, you're trying to get your feet wet, you're trying to learn some essential business principles and really establish your first couple products, you need to check that program out. It's an inexpensive program that's going to give you everything that you need to start selling consistently and build a legitimate business, right? If you sell one high-ticket product as a result of what you learn there, it pays for itself. Number three, last one here, is the Woodworking Business Accelerator Program. If you are a serious woodworker that's ready to go to the next level, really go to the $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 mark, we have an incredible product suite. We have an incredible system to take you there. And so we've already worked with over 200 woodworkers over the last several years and helped them grow their businesses astronomically. And there's no reason you couldn't be the next one. So with that being said, love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.